Alita for leaving town without properly breaking up with my boyfriend. Alita for leaving town without properly breaking up with my boyfriend. After he told me I wasn't welcome to his family's Christmas party. Advice needed. TLDR. I've been fighting for a personal goal for years, and when I thought I could finally enjoy a bit, my boyfriend discloses that he has a degenerative disease. I resent this because I have always had to show him support, but he doesn't act the same. He disinvited from his family's Christmas gathering. I had planned on moving back to my city early next year but just gave up my place without telling him. My feelings are hurt, but I'm also worrying about him. My F30 for now ex-boyfriend Carl N37 offered to include me in his family's Christmas gathering, since I wouldn't be able to travel home because I was behind with work for a client and cancelled on me because he was angry. This was very hurtful because he knows I was counting on it. The original idea was to have my family visit me instead, so that I could still manage the workload. After thinking it through, me and my family decided that I should just travel on the 26th until January, since I had already planned on moving back home for a better working contract, so I would just come back in January to pick up the rest of my things. Carl knew about all this. We had discussed maintaining the relationship, with him moving to my home state in a few weeks or months, depending on him finding a job. I've been with Carl for 2 years, and I feel like a parental figure. He was recently diagnosed with a degenerative disease. This new situation set all types of alarms. I have always been a caregiver to everyone in my life, and now that I thought I could sit back and relax, this comes up. I'm full of rage, although I never told him. He isn't doing anything to help himself. I'm noticing that he's acting too accepting of his situation, and hasn't mentioned any job hunt aside from the intention of getting a job in my next location. I'm not sure if this is a defense mechanism, but he just sits down very passively and smiles like it's okay. He's not bedridden or anything, and this bothers me. Carl's family is not very welcoming. Only his brother Jeff M30 treats me in a friendly manner. I used to try to make conversation whenever I saw Mill, but she didn't seem interested, and I didn't want to embarrass myself. Being invited to his family's Christmas meant a lot to me, especially because I felt like Mill was open to getting to know me better. I work as an external consultant for several companies, and I took on the additional workload just so that I could complete the process to launch a new company. I have everything locked in: partners, LOIs, suppliers, etc. But can't do much without capital, obviously. Last year, I cut my budget down to the essentials to help my project funding efforts. This bothered him so much that we had fights when his jokes about me being cheap turned disrespectful. He eventually apologized. Without giving out too much detail, it paid off, but I still had obligations related to my daily work. My client had to make some changes, and I needed to turn in a proposal on their behalf. So I had to process all the data and have them approved before closing for the year. Carl showed me very little support and stressed me out whenever he showed up. For context, we didn't live together, but he would show up with food for himself, and wait until he had me in front of him to ask me if I wanted anything to eat. If I said yes, he would get pissed. If I said no, he would just sit down watching videos and getting mad if I asked him to wear his earphones, because the sound messed with my concentration. It happened over and over, until I asked him to see each other after I completed my work for my client. He left angry, and called me more than twice, wanting to create an argument. All I wanted was to be able to deliver to my client. This was almost 2 weeks ago, and I projected the delivery date for around the 24th. The deadline is on Friday so that they could work on negotiations with a client starting next January. We had a huge disagreement, and one of the things he said was that he's baffled by my choice for a place to live. We've had this same argument over and over. He thinks that I'm sitting on money and has accused me of being greedy. For background, I rented a very small apartment, actually the downstairs portion of a house that was split into ground units. I know it's not the best or most beautiful side of town, but the price was a factor. It's relatively safe. I also saved on gas because there are some shops nearby. I can acknowledge the place being kind of ugly inside, but I had it painted and added some tapestries, and the place turned out looking okay. Carl complained about everything. He was mortified that I only had a couch included with the apartment and that the space was too narrow. My only peeve was that the front door opened directly onto the sidewalk, but I knew what I was getting into. When he saw my new place, he canceled on our plans for living together right at that moment and moved in with a friend instead. I was a bit hurt because he didn't really give me a heads up but aborted the idea without a discussion. When I asked, he was adamant that he never gave me any firm confirmation on any plans, and I was left to question my sanity. He asked me to get some furniture if I wanted him to move in. First, I eventually got used to being alone compared to having him come over for days on end back at my old place. Second, I said he needed to get whatever furniture he wanted at my place, because I had no particular interest in getting any. The place is too small for a full living room set, and bringing additional pieces would make it look hideous. I ate and worked from a pull-down table. He constantly said he hated the layout because the bathroom was behind the kitchen wall and the bedroom was super tiny. He complained about using a bed that was included, therefore he said it was dirty. I don't see the big deal. I sanitized it and used plastic under to mattress covers and brand new pillows. He loves staying in hotels where the beds have more human use. I explained over and over that I didn't want to deal with furniture. After consecutive moves and dealing with selling property, I also pointed out that I was mentally exhausted from working with a client who was moving their operations, and I had to deal with purging or securing their documents. I simply wanted to enjoy our time together, not fight. Added to this, I switched to a monthly rental agreement in August because I knew I would be leaving in January, and adding him to the lease made me uncomfortable, considering that he may be out of a job next year because of local politics. Again, I tried to be fair and I'm trying to be understanding, because he comes from a very scarcity-conscious family, and that things have been harder for him, but I feel disrespected. I addressed his need to live on appearances and he dismissed me. When my family sold off their property, he got mad at me because he wanted a chance to buy it, but my parents had to move on because he wasn't qualified. Same with the items inside the properties. He was constantly showing interest in stuff and attempting to open boxes. It made me so uncomfortable that I sternly told him that I preferred to deal with these things in private. When I moved my things to a storage unit, I did so to keep control over my stuff since he didn't help me out but wanted me to put my stuff in his family's garage. It didn't make sense when I could keep everything in a portable storage unit that I could keep at a secure location and have it shipped. I hadn't heard from him after our last argument, so I reached out last Thursday because I wanted to see if when he would pick me up for his family's Christmas event. He said I shouldn't be there since I'm constantly disappointing him. I asked if he was disinviting me and he said he wasn't. But since I kept doing things to piss him off, maybe I should think about it before I made him lose his patience. I cried a bit after that, but to my understanding, he had broken up with me or was trying to. I tried to calm myself down to finish my work and made the decision to not prolong our situation. He showed up like nothing happened and immediately asked me for a back rub like I do when he's in pain. I said I was busy and didn't let him in. I completed my assignment and got approval 2 days ago. I put all of my remaining belongings in a mail package and notified the landlord. I know our relationship is ruined, but I couldn't help feeling sad about leaving him. I feel guilty knowing that he doesn't know that I'm gone, and now I don't know how to address it with him. He texted me that he wanted to spend Christmas Day together, but I said no thanks and that I'm not available. I just didn't want to talk to him because I felt drained. He doesn't know that I won't be coming back in January. I'm staying near the airport until my flight in the morning, but I haven't been able to sleep. I'm still angry, but a part of me feel really bad, because Carl has suffered rejection by certain social circles. I've had many moments when I felt lonely in this relationship, but he's not entirely healthy and I'm worrying about creating a feeling of ableism or that I'm discarding because he's sick. I also feel like he's ready to become a burden and I can't allow Alida for not telling him right away.